The group photo, portrait, so to speak, of an elite family of special athletes. You know, things here have changed over the years for the faster. In the first race back in 1911, the top speed reached was 90 miles an hour. Last year's winner, Helio Castroneves, reached speeds in excess of 230 miles an hour. And here's a look at the science of speed and its impact on the drivers.
Indy race car drivers and fighter jet pilots both endure extreme G-forces. But how do the G-forces in a fighter jet compare to an Indy car? To find out, I get suited up for science.
So we got a vest here, John, that has accelerometers that's going to measure G-forces in all three axes. Just don't throw up on my stuff.
I'll be riding along with pilot Dave Riggs in his Aero L39C Albatross jet. And when the jet takes off, it rapidly accelerates to a speed of 500 miles an hour.
Oh my God! Oh my God! This is only 2 Gs.
4 Gs. 6 Gs. 7.3 Gs. Our data reveals that at peak moments, in bursts lasting less than 0.2 of a second, we're pulling 7.3 Gs. This makes my 160-pound body feel like it weighs over 1,100 pounds.
I can't even lift my arms. My face is just shuddering. I've never felt my body that heavy before.
To compare the G-forces of the jet to an Indy car, we've enlisted driver Ryan Hunter-Reay.
We have accelerometers up here and on the side and down here.
Wired up with the same sensors I wore, Ryan puts the pedal down on the Brickyard. At peaks of 230 miles an hour, this 700 horsepower Indy car subjects Ryan to over 4 Gs in a single turn, lasting an average of 6.6 seconds. That's 33 times longer than the duration of the maximum Gs I experienced during this maneuver.
Your knees hurt, your elbows hurt, your neck hurts. Everything hurts because everything's being pushed this way. Your cheeks, everything. It feels like your whole face is coming off this way.
I can tell you that 3 to 4 Gs is no joke. And he has to do it 800 times in the race.
You can't breathe normally. You can't just intake that oxygen when you want it. It has to be on straightaways.
In the 3.5-hour Indy 500, there are over 88 minutes of turns. And in those turns, Ryan experiences 3,200 cumulative Gs. That means the forces his body sustains will total more than 500,000 pounds.
What people don't understand is how tough it is physically.
When it comes to G-forces in the Indy 500, it's not only about how many Gs, it's about how long those Gs last. For Sports Science on ESPN, I'm John Brinkus.
And so our 33 world-class athletes are ready to strap in and face the stress of the most grueling race in the world. Our two colleagues, Scott Goodyear and '98 winner Eddie Cheever, are down in the Craftsman Tech garage with more on the challenges facing every driver.
And Brent, here in Indianapolis, drivers travel the length of a football field in less than a second. But it's not the speed here in Indianapolis that gets to the drivers, it's the G-forces. Every time you come out of the turn, you're going down that 5/8 of a mile straightaway, you look to just move your wrist and get yourself ready for the end, because if you're tired, it becomes a battle, Eddie.
And don't forget that extra element, you have cars always around. You have cars in front, you have cars behind. So you're not just having little dogfights, you have the potential to have a 3.5-hour dogfight.
And Eddie, back in the old days, those dogfights could last up to 5 hours. Let's go back to 1960 now to what has been described as the greatest duel in the history of the Indianapolis 500, where the will to win and brute strength were the technologies of the day.
I just felt at my bones nobody was going to beat me in 1960 to win that race.
And the race is on! And here they come, Roger Ward, about 3 car lengths ahead, driving down into this corner, right above the white line, and right behind him is Jimmy Rathman.
You could run up close to Roger and, you know, bumper to bumper with him and get right next to him. He never saw you off.
Roger Ward moved about 100 feet in front of Jim Rathman, but on the last time around, Rathman was leading. This is a ding-dong battle for first place between Jim Rathman and Roger Ward.
I don't know how many times we passed that year, but it was a lot of times.
So now it's a Roger Ward, Jim Rathman duel. Boy, it's a shame that somebody has to lose this race, you know. These two fellows driving 500 miles, just neck and neck.
One of us had to win. We kept coming and coming and coming, and I'm just going to drive as hard as I can to stay in front of him.
Jim Rathman ahead of Roger Ward. Roger Ward drops back about 8 or 9 car lengths.
Lap after lap, I knew I could beat Roger. I just had it in my mind that I was going to win the race.
Here's the checkered flag for Jim Rathman, the winner of the 44th annual 500-mile race.
With meaning as any that decorate America's landscape. To the winner goes the spoils in this case, a bottle of milk to drink and bathe in. And of course that comes along with the Borg Warner Trophy. Symbols of success only attainable by one driver at this race on this day. Now both traditions began 1936. Milk became the drink of champions after Louis Meyer, the winner of the 36 race, gulped down a bottle of buttermilk. There are 45,432 miles visible in the rearview mirror that reflects the past of this great race, while 500 miles loom straight ahead. And in today's field, there are only those 4 former winners and 29 drivers who are dreaming about winning their first. And you know, long before this race gets underway, the plans are drawn up by the drivers, the do's and don'ts of a winning design, a blueprint you need only follow to get to the finish line first.
Indy 500, that's when you put everything on the line, and you want to get across that line first.
It seems like such a simple design. It's not.
From when the sun is out and when the clouds come over, it's always changing.
If you look at the track on paper, everything looks the same. You know, 4 corners, they should be the same banking, but they really are not.
Whoa, we got trouble! This track is unique because of the long straights and right angle corners with relatively low banking.
It is absolutely the fastest track we race on. We're doing over 230 miles an hour.
The temperature can change 5 or 10 degrees, and the wind can change direction a little bit, and all of a sudden this car that was fantastic and you felt you could win the Indianapolis 500 with it, now it's just a piece of crap and you don't want to drive it because it's trying to throw you in the wall every corner.
Such a long race, you can't get through it without a scare or without a hump that you have to get over at some point.
Oh no, another crash and it's upside down. It's Marco Andretti.
That's stuff when it goes to blueprinting that you can't plan for.
Marco, you okay? Oh, we got a crash! Marco Andretti. He just can't believe that his race is over before lap 1.
I think with the blueprint for the Indy 500, you generally push them up, throw them away. When you think you've got it handled, luck and the speedway come up and bite you in the butt.
The track will pick up the winner, and then it's her choice, so you can't force it. Well, if I could erase certain things, I would erase every time I was in the lead, which was 7 times in a row, and something happened to me.
This guy just has no luck at all here.
You can win this race and be the king in a second, but you can lose this race in a second as well.
Down the front stretch! It's a drag race! Marco Andretti! Hornet!
If I moved low early, he was just going to go high. If I moved with him, we're going to crash.
Who's going to win? At the stripe! It's Hornet! Hornet wins!
You have to respect the danger and the speed.
Last year was a very, very bad day. I left the pits with the refueling hose still attached, so that caused a big fire. The car was fine, then I had a very big crash.